With that, I am pleased to announce our first speaker. Francisco Peñagaricano is an associate professor in dairy genetics here at UW, where his research uses quantitative genomics, computational biology, and large-scale data to understand the genetic basis of key livestock traits. His work focuses on gene mapping, genomic prediction, and other approaches to improve fertility, efficiency, resilience, and environmental sustainability in dairy farming. Francisco will set the stage for the topic and will moderate the first hour with 2 members of his lab. So join me in welcoming Francisco.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can you guys hear me well? Yes? Thanks for the invitation. Thank you for having us today. My job this morning is very easy. I will just give a very short introduction, and then I will let Umit Velginer and Afis Ahasa to present their research. I guess my slides are coming. Why just, there you go, magic. So for the next 40 minutes, we will be talking about methane emissions. And in particular, we will talk about how we can mitigate, how we can reduce methane emissions from dairy cattle. And I want to start with sustainability. And I really like this definition when we think about sustainability. It says that sustainability is about meeting the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And when we think about sustainability, we have these 3 big domains: the economic, the social, and the environment. And within the dairy industry, we have our own challenges related with profit, productivity, cost of production, animal welfare, food safety, and of course, the environmental impact of dairy farming, the impact on water and soil. So when we think about sustainable dairy farming and we think about our dairy cattle right in the middle, right? We would like to have high producing cows so we can produce the same amount of milk with less number of cows. We would like to have very fertile cows. In fact, reproduction performance is one of the major drivers of farm profitability. We would like to have long-lived, healthy cows, so we don't need to use any pharmacological interventions like antibiotics, so we don't mess up with animal welfare. We would like to have high feed-efficient cows. We would like to produce the same amount of milk using less feed. And if we use less feed, probably we will need less land. We will produce less manure. We will emit less gases. Of course, we would like to have low methane emission cows. We would love to produce the same amount of milk with reduced methane emissions, so we mitigate climate change. And of course, we would like to have resilient cows, right? We would like to have cows that under environmental perturbations are able to maintain performance. And I know I'm biased, because I am a geneticist, but I truly believe that genetics is one of the most powerful tools that we have to achieve sustainable dairy farming. And my group has been working in many of these traits, and today, because of time and because of topic, we will focus on methane emissions, okay? So why methane? Why methane is the second most important greenhouse gas in the United States. It represents 11% of total emissions, second after CO2. Now, when we compare methane versus CO2, methane has a much more important warming power, and at the same time, it has a shorter lifetime. And those are good news for us, because reducing methane emissions is probably the fastest way that we have nowadays to slow down or even reverse the rate of global warming. Now, why methane and livestock? I'm sure you know. Enteric fermentation that occurs in ruminants accounts for 27% of total methane emissions in this country. And this is a great opportunity for both the dairy industry and the beef industry to reduce methane emissions and in that way convert climate change to social benefits with all the positive consequences that will have. Now, beyond the impact that methane has on global warming and climate change, beyond if you believe in global warming or climate change, methane is actually energy loss. And here I have a very simple diagram of the flow of energy in a dairy cow, starting here from gross energy. Methane represents a loss of energy between 5 and 10%, energy that otherwise could be used for milk production. So reducing methane emission from dairy cattle has multiple advantages, including reducing the environmental impact of dairy farming, but at the same time, improving production efficiency. When we think about reducing methane emissions, mitigating methane emissions, we probably have three big strategies. One is to manipulate the diet that we provide to the animals. So if we manipulate the diet, we are able to reduce methane emissions. The second one is kind of intervene the microbiome. At the end of the day, methane is produced in the rumen microbiome by the methanogens. So if we manipulate that microbiome, maybe we are able to reduce methane emissions. And the third one is to use selective breeding, right? It's a very simple concept. It's this idea of breed a selected group of individuals as parent of the next generation. And for the next 30 minutes, we will focus on selective breeding. Now, before I call Umit, I want to go over this meta-analysis. This meta-analysis was published a few years ago in PNAS. In this study, the authors reviewed 430 different studies, and they grouped these studies in 98 different mitigation options. You can see here from management, diet formulation, and rumen manipulation. What we have learned from this massive meta-analysis? Well, the vast majority of the options that we have nowadays are not successfully mitigating methane. And there are only 8 options that can reduce methane without reducing or impacting performance. So this is to set the stage that we still have major challenges in identifying effective strategies. And we need to remember that whatever strategy we decided to develop and implement at the national level, that strategy should meet both the farmer needs. Farmers need easy, cheap strategies, and also the consumer demands. Consumers demand for high-quality food from healthy, happy cows. So going back, I want to invite to the stage Umit Vilginer, and he will be presenting his current research. Thank you.